So in this video, we're going to take a look at these inversion questions. And inversion questions are necessarily yes, no questions. It'd be the equivalent of in English of asking, do you like to study? I'm not asking what do you study, who do you study with, where do you study, how do you study, because those require an explanation. These are simple yes, no questions. Do you study? Yes, I study. Do you like the class? Yes, I like the class. Do you walk? Yes, I walk. So one of the things that sometimes gets us trouble in English is we have this helper verb called do. That does not exist in other languages. We don't have that helper verb. It's actually much easier in Spanish because all we do, so the statement would be tú estudias, you study. To transform that into a question, do you study? We're just going to flip the words around. Estudias tú. That's it, right? Um, Down here, when we say tú caminas, you walk, to ask the question, do you walk? We're just flipping the words around. Do you walk, right? Caminas tú. That's all we do. So when you see inversion questions, don't overthink it. Just take the two words, flip them, and you have an inversion question. And when I say the two words, what we'll typically have is a subject, which is the person doing the action, and we'll have a verb. So instead of having verb, well, so normally we have subject, which would be like yo, and then verb, which would be like, I spelled that wrong. Shouldn't be recording videos, I guess, at 10:20 at night. So normally we have subject, yo, verb, camino. What we do with inversion questions is we go verb, subject, camino, yo, and we put some question marks around it. Remember that upside down question mark in Spanish? Do I walk? I don't know. Do I walk? Sometimes I walk. I walk a lot at school. And that's pretty much it for inversion questions. They're not overly complicated. Just flip the words and you have a question. The only one that's a little bit different is gustar. ¿Te gusta la clase? You like the class. The question becomes, ¿Te gusta la clase? In this case, we're not flipping anything around. We're just asking we're just putting it in the same order, but putting the question marks around it. And that only really works with gustar. Um, One other thing I was going to mention, oftentimes in Spanish, because every verb conjugation is different, yo estudio, tú estudias, ella estudia, etc., we don't actually need to include the pronoun because it's already clear who we're talking about. So, for example, if I were to say estudio, that has to be the yo form because that's the only one that's conjugated like that. So we don't need to include the yo in Spanish. And many times in Spanish, it's natural just to drop the subject. But in English, if I were to say I walk, that makes sense. But if I were to drop the subject, I would have walk. You're like, well, you walk, I walk, we walk, they walk. So English, we use the same verb conjugation for almost all of the subjects and a lot of verbs. So that's why in English we can't drop the subject, but in Spanish we often do. So sometimes these questions will simply become ¿estudias? We don't even need to include the subject because it's clear who we're asking about, right? It can't be estudias yo. That doesn't make sense because those don't work together. So remember, with inversion yes, no questions, you're just finding the subject, who's doing the action, finding the verb, the action, and just flipping them around. So the verb comes first, the subject comes second. That's it. Thanks for watching.